The episode starts with a grand function in the palace. All the concubines and their lady-in-waiting are attending the celebration, including Maomao. One lady-in-waiting points out the emperor's mother to Maomao, who is surprised by how young she looks. The lady-in-waiting whispers something to Maomao, making her realize the hardships the emperor's mother must have faced. She also reveals that the emperor has a younger brother who is always sick and never leaves his quarters. Meanwhile, some lady-in-waiting from Lady Lishu's side insult Maomao, calling her ugly, but when Maomao approaches them, they flee in fear, remembering her past warnings. Later, Maomao receives a hairpin from an unknown man, and another lady-in-waiting explains that only talented people receive such gifts. Then, Lady Lishu herself gives Maomao a hairpin, adding to her collection. At the feast, Maomao is served soup before Lady Gyokuyu, as she must taste it for poison. The moment she takes a sip, she realizes it contains poison and warns everyone. A minister, not believing her, drinks the soup and collapses. Jinshi then forcefully takes Maomao to the apothecary, where she deduces that Lady Lishu mistakenly consumed food she was allergic to, which caused the poison mix-up. The episode ends with Jinshi deep in thought. The episode begins with Maomao waking up from a dream where she saw herself back home, making her wonder if her father is doing well. She then visits Lady Gyokuyu, who suggests she take a day off to rest after consuming poisoned soup at the banquet. However, Maomao insists she is fine. Lady Gyokuyu notices the dark spots on her face have returned, and Maomao admits she prefers having them. Later, Jinshi's assistant brings Maomao the same silver bowl used in the banquet. She dusts powder over it, revealing multiple fingerprints, proving someone else besides the usual servers had touched it. She deduces the food taster intentionally swapped Lady Lishu's soup with Lady Gyokuyu's, suspecting that Lishu's lady-in-waiting orchestrated it. Maomao then arranges a meeting with the man who gave her the hairpin at the banquet and tricks him into granting her 3 days leave by tempting him with a visit to Verdigris' house, a high-class brothel. Delighted, Maomao returns home after 10 months and finds everything unchanged. Her father greets her, and she explains she was kidnapped while delivering his medicine. He tells her to rest since she must visit Verdigris' house the next day. Maomao plans to stay home for 3 days before returning to work. Next episode begins with Maomao wakes up confused, momentarily forgetting she is at home. Remembering her father must be in the fields tending to medicinal herbs, she heads to Verdigris' house, where a girl she doesn't recognize pulls her into a room. Inside, she finds a man and a courtesan unconscious. Acting quickly, Maomao checks if anything is obstructing the man's airway, administers chest compressions, and gives him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. She then instructs a girl to bring charcoal. Later, the courtesan thanks Maomao, who investigates the case, noting the scent of tobacco and alcohol in the room. She suspects poisoning from tobacco leaves, commonly used for suicides. Her father arrives, and together they prepare an antidote. The brothel's mistress offers Maomao payment, which she convinces her father to accept. However, Maomao finds the case suspicious, as the man appeared wealthy and not someone who would willingly commit suicide. While inspecting the scene, she stops a young girl from attacking the unconscious man with a knife. A woman reveals that the man was a manipulative customer who deceived courtesans, promising to buy their freedom but always backing out. His behavior ruined many lives, including the young girl's sister. Later, Maomao re-examines the evidence and realizes the courtesan likely poisoned his drink intentionally, ensuring she ingested only a small, non-lethal amount. She reflects on how palace intrigues and brothel schemes are eerily similar. After 3 days, Maomao returns to the palace, where Jinshi questions her absence. He grows irritated that she sought permission from another official instead of him, but Maomao explains she had no way to repay his kindness. Her response shocks Jinshi, and Maomao leaves, ending the episode. Next episode begins with Jinshi is feeling down as he had planned to go out with Maomao, but she left with someone else instead. His feelings for her have become obvious to those around him. Meanwhile, a soldier in the palace is found dead after drinking alcohol, but Jinshi is suspicious and takes the case to Maomao. She examines the wine and finds its taste unusual, both sweet and salty. When she requests the broken wine cup, she discovers salt residue inside, meaning the drink was intentionally spiked with excessive salt, which can be lethal in large amounts. She deduces that the soldier, who had suffered personal loss, may not have noticed the altered taste due to his emotional distress. Jinshi is left to investigate who had a motive for poisoning him. Later, a maid's dead body is discovered in the palace moat, and Maomao refuses to touch it, stating her mentor forbade her from handling corpses. The palace physician determines it was suicide, but Maomao argues that the high palace walls make it nearly impossible for the maid to have climbed and jumped alone. This means it was a murder. As she contemplates how fragile life is, she wonders who will taste the poisons if she dies. Jinshi, angered by her words, insists he would never sentence her to death. Days later, news arrives that the maid had been poisoned at a banquet. Soon after, Jinshi's assistant reveals that Lady Aduo's head lady-in-waiting, Peng Yun, is responsible for the recent incidents. The episode ends on this revelation. Next episode begins with Maomao is with her friend when she hears a rumor that the maid who committed suicide was the one who poisoned Lady Gyokuyu's soup, and that she was Lady Aduo's servant. Meanwhile, at Jade Pavilion, Lady Lishu visits, and as she and Lady Gyokuyu drink tea, Maomao notices that Lady Lishu hesitates when offered honey tea. Realizing she doesn't consume honey, Maomao advises Lady Gyokuyu to serve her ginger tea instead. Later, Jinshi asks Maomao if she believes the maid committed suicide after poisoning Lady Gyokuyu. Maomao replies that it's Jinshi's job to uncover the truth. Jinshi then sends her to Garnet Pavilion under the guise of assisting with work. But in reality, he wants to investigate why the head lady-in-waiting, Peng Yun, is involved in suspicious activities. At Garnet Pavilion, Maomao meets Lady Aduo and observes her natural, unpretentious demeanor. She also notes that Lady Aduo doesn't appear to be in her 30s and that her attire doesn't suit her. The head lady-in-waiting, Peng Yun, seems surprisingly kind and innocent, which confuses Maomao. As she helps with tasks, Maomao notices a sweet fragrance in the air but doesn't think much of it. The next day, she discovers large quantities of honey stored in the pavilion and learns that Peng Yun's family is involved in the honey trade. Later, Maomao reports her findings to Jinshi, suspecting Peng Yun's involvement in recent events, but admitting she seems too naive to be behind everything. Seeking more clues, she visits Lady Lishu and confirms that honey is dangerous for her, as told by palace physicians in her childhood. Realizing there's more to uncover, Maomao requests records about Lady Aduo's past. Jinshi's assistant retrieves them, marveling at Maomao's intelligence despite being only 17. The records reveal that 17 years ago, when the current emperor was still a prince, he had a son with a courtesan, but the child died young. Maomao also reads about a eunuch who walks like an old woman, having had a bone removed from his knee. Shocked, she realizes this describes her own father, meaning he once lived in the palace and cultivated the very medicinal herbs she grew up using. This revelation leaves her stunned, and the episode ends on this shocking note.